Welcome everybody to another edition of the Tech Woke Podcast. I am your host, Christopher Okpala. And in today's podcast, we have a great guest. His name is Jonte. He's working in network engineering. He's worked in DevOps. He's an entrepreneur, a businessman. This man has done a lot of things. He's one of the biggest content creators there is in cybersecurity and just in period in life. So, Jonte, welcome to the podcast. How you doing, brother?
Man, blessed. I can't complain, man. I'm getting the work I prayed for, to say the least.
Yeah, you definitely do it. When I was coming up in the tech space and just watching people, even my own friends and family pay attention to you. So I definitely had to get you on. And then I like what you're doing, man. You're changing up the space. You're growing to like almost 80,000. What you doing? Like 80,000 on Instagram, man?
Yeah, man. And we're gonna hit 10 grand on YouTube soon. So it's like I'm just trying to stack the pennies up, man.
Yeah, and I definitely pay attention. And this man goes live every night. It was like last night I was just watching. He's always live. I'm like, man, what do you go to sleep, man? So just wanted to make sure I give your flowers on I give it behind the scenes, but I just wanted to make sure we actually give it in person so everybody can see that I'm giving it to you. So without further ado, Jonte, you're growing, you do your thing, and a lot of people are learning from you. But a lot of people don't know who you are. Do you mind giving a quick background about who you are and how you got into the space in general?
Yeah, like, man, because my first love is not tech. Like, it wasn't, I want to be an engineer and I want to do this. It was like, I wanted to fight, dude. Like, all I wanted to do until I got really introduced to the tech space was mixed martial arts. That's all I wanted to do. I went to school for wrestling. That didn't work out. I ended up doing that, getting injured a couple of times. I ended up breaking my foot, tearing my rotator cuff. It just didn't work out for me. And then one of my close friends from high school, they ended up taking their life while I was in college, and that impacted me pretty heavily, I will say. And just being through that season, so to speak, gave me the opportunity to be holed up and like take advantage of it. And that's what really got me into like the tech stuff. But I mean, prior to that, it was a lot of tinkering, a lot of video games, a lot of like building machines and just playing around. But I didn't really understand the value that could correlate from doing those things in the business world, and that businesses were willing to spend like top dollar for those next level skills in the space. But it was through that I really transitioned over, really got exposed to cloud and so on and so forth. And I mean, I just took it and ran with it. I mean, when life gives you lemons, right?
Hey, you gotta make lemonade, you know. Right. I do want to resonate with you that when I was I've been coming growing up, I'm a big fan of MMA. I've talked to you about it. Really big fan. John Jones, Conor McGregor is my favorite MMA fighter. Period. Like when he came up, oh my goodness. Who's the debate? Who debate with? Who's your favorite? Who's your favorite? We can get to
my favorite, right? I watched the fights last night. They were pretty good. I would say my favorite right now was probably like Alex Pereira. Like an older Yeah, I really did. Like John Jones is probably my favorite for a while until like I found out he was like a cheater. I mean, he's still like, you know, the baddest man on the planet, but like the drugs take away from the greatness in my opinion. But other than him, I would probably say Daniel Cormier, natural athlete, high caliber wrestler, high level competitor, like just overall bad man. If he was on drugs, like he would probably be better than John Jones, if we're being honest.
Yeah, Daniel Cormier is a beast, and he a fat man too, so he killing it. Right. That man probably eating chicken before the fight. So I'm a big wrestling fan. So it's amazing that you know we had the same love with that. I definitely follow you and we're working out and doing things. And you built. I see you in person. I'm like, you built, brother. You know what I'm saying? You can take me down anytime. But just to get into that. Nah, you built, man. I tell you that. Hit me with a what is it, double leg? Double leg.
Yeah.
But yeah. So based on that, you're an athlete. You know you tour everything, and then you just looking on the outside looking in. You're like, okay, people have infrastructures, people have network design, people have cybersecurity. You're like, man, I can actually make some money. Matter of fact, you can make athlete numbers. It's probably more money you would have did in wrestling or MMA. Just looking at the numbers.
Yeah. Because like I always tell people, like even with pursuing that background, like you have gold and silver medalists in combat sports that are broke. They're like baristas because there's not a whole bunch you can do with that skill set once the competition is over. Like once you're past that, let's say, I guess peak your body, everything is downhill from there unless you have like the mental behind it to actually capitalize on it. And also, like, as I was like sitting there being injured, it was just like, am I really going to potentially pursue this pseudo greatness, this short-lived greatness, and accumulate all of this debt, all of these injuries for what exactly? I mean, like, ultimately, like, I mean, there's only so much you really have to do to be, I guess, more combat efficient than an average person, I would say. And I mean, just doing those combat sports for a little while, it's like, yeah, there's not too much that you really have to prove to anyone else. Is it worth all the risk and debt and injuries associated with it? Probably not.
No, I agree. And I just want to add in there, like being in the combat sports, it costs like 500 to 800 a month just to train.
Right.
Food, training, all that. So I
Not
get
to
it.
mention like camp, coaches, fight purse. It's just like, dude, nah, something else has to give unless you're like really, really a world champion or something like that.
I agree. So Jonte, a lot of people are talking, and again, people that's on live, remember, if you have any comments, questions, make sure you put it in there. We're going to definitely get to it. If you're watching the stream on YouTube, like it, but we just want to know how you're doing. So Jonte, in 2026, everybody comes to me. It's a popular topic. Everybody wants to get into network engineering. How would we navigate the space to get into a network engineer currently in this space right now?
So I had dropped a video on the CCNA recently. Like, I'm not a network engineer, but networking is part of what I do, which is cloud.
Okay.
You do need to have like a fundamental understanding of like compute, network, and storage for you to really excel in that space. If someone was like, hey, how do I become a network engineer? I would tell them, dude, the CCNA has been around for like 30 years. It's the gold standard for learning that skill set. It's not something that I believe you have to be a deep expert in for you to transition over to the cloud space. But if I did have to start my career over from scratch, I would say a stronger foundation with networking. I mean, your Network Plus, your CCNA, getting the skills or the foundations from that can enable you to build the environments to display the skill set to attract the role that you're looking for in that space. But a networking skill set is inherently just valuable for cloud overall, I would say.
So for cloud in general, like what do you do? Like, do you have to just put up a VMware? Do you have to get a cert? Like, what's the thing that people are looking for outside of network? Just focusing straight on cloud.
So with cloud, my methodology with that is don't focus on the certifications. There are tons of great certifications out there in the cloud space, like a lot of great certifications in the cloud space. But the main focus you should have is how to solve business problems. Because ultimately in the real world, businesses aren't hiring you to be like, okay, this person has a certification. They want to pick the person that they can trust to solve the business problem that they have. And, you know, we might touch on interviewing later, but that's the biggest thing. How can I learn to use a cloud platform and learn the cloud native services or maybe third-party services integrated with the cloud platform to solve the business problem that they have? Because they're hiring someone to solve something. It's developing that problem-solving methodology and understanding the tool set that's available to you to really attract the opportunities you're looking for.
Okay, I get it. So can you give, like, for example, for the audience, because even for myself, I'm kind of curious, like, what are some business problems that you noticed while working in the field, or what are some problems that you notice that somebody can capitalize on to get a job?
Yeah, it could be far and few between depending on like the maturity of the organization. I will say for like a lot of orgs that are migrating from on-premise infrastructure, they have a maturity problem, a streamlining problem, an automation problem. Like, as much as people will make videos or YouTube content or any content and say, oh, well, everything's automated in the cloud, you need Linux for this and that. Like, no, there's a lot of businesses, multi-million-dollar Fortune 500 businesses that still don't have these mature processes in place, and they need people to build those processes from scratch. And that's predicated on a deep understanding of the platform and then the third party or cloud adjacent tools to build those processes out for them. And, you know, like a lot of what I'm seeing in the market as well, too, is businesses are trying to build out their own AI agents without any consideration of like the security or the guardrails associated with it. And I think those two are like the biggest gaps that I think people could fill right now.
Yeah, that's actually a good talking point. I work in the GRC space, in the government, the RMF space, and I think we had a conversation. I was like, we're trying to automate the compliance process. If somebody can solve that problem, even zero trust, like cloud native tools, like you were talking about. How do you implement zero trust with that? How are you checking auditing? How are you automating the controls? Like, for example, sometimes we want to know who the privileged users are. Is there a place? Is there a way to automate that? So I like what you're saying. That first, and to the audience, if you're not hearing this, literally solve somebody's problem. If you're going to solve somebody's problem, you'll get a job. And again, these multi-million-dollar companies, man, I don't understand the game he's saying right now, but he's dropping some game. If you can solve a multi-million-dollar company problems, you're going to be employed, and you can actually create opportunities for yourself. So
100%.
So when it comes to the cloud environment, there's different ones. You got Azure, you got AWS, you got other ones. What would be your suggestion? I know you've been working in a lot of people want to know everything. What would you focus on? AWS, Azure, or what would you recommend? Or
yeah, so I would say my skill set or the niche within the cloud space that I'm in is multi-cloud. So that's also a niche that people don't really consider. And I want to touch on like why. There aren't a lot of businesses that have a use case where they need to work on all 3 cloud platforms or multiple cloud platforms at one time. And the ones that do need to have a footprint across the platforms, they got money. They got money to spend to invest and make sure that they have that footprint. So that is a niche within itself to have an understanding of multiple platforms at once. And that's what I would put myself in terms of my niche in the cloud space. But realistically, if I could start my career over, I would have drilled down deeper on one platform at the start, because ultimately the longer you stay in the cloud space, the higher the chance of you being exposed to multiple cloud platforms over time. Like eventually you will touch another cloud platform one way or the other, but I don't think it's efficient for you to start your career and be like, oh, I need to learn all 3 because they're prevalent in the market. No, I would pick one, especially at the start. And it doesn't really matter which one that you pick, because ultimately like cloud is cloud. The services and the fundamental understanding of compute, network, and storage on the platform is going to correlate over to any other platform you learn. Just as long as you deeply understand the core services associated with the platform, it's not going to be difficult for you to pivot as your career grows and progresses.
No, I understand multi-cloud. That's a good niche, and then again, it can make you stand out, which you're kind of doing right now. Focusing on one thing, that definitely will help the audience in case they want to focus on one thing. But like you said, you're going to touch it eventually. There's no need to rush it. And can you kind of explain to the audience, like, okay, what is a cloud environment? Like, what are businesses using it for? Is it a storage? Like, just break it down, because a lot of the people in my audience kind of newer. Can you break that down to them?
Yeah. So like the way that I describe cloud to people is like a vending machine, right? Like there's a running joke that the cloud is someone else's computer, and it's a running joke because it's true. Like ultimately what you're doing, and this is the vending machine analogy, you're spending a fraction of a dollar, you're putting a quarter in a vending machine, and you're getting a supercomputer outside of the vending machine. And what you choose to use that supercomputer for is up to the business use case that you're trying to solve, right? So think of the cloud as someone else's computer thousands of miles away that you'll never see and never touch, that you're going to leverage to solve a particular business problem that you have. And that problem can be very different depending on the org, depending on the team. It might be, hey, we have terabytes or petabytes of data we want to migrate, or hey, we have a slew of hundreds of virtual machines that we want to condense into a serverless architecture, or hey, we have a slew of teams we want to onboard, and we want to make sure we have an environment that's segregated for them so that we can save costs on onboarding users and giving them their own individual machines. Like the use cases are far and few between, but ultimately the cloud is someone else's computer that you're leveraging to solve a business problem.
Okay, yeah, that's to sum it up. And can you explain to the audience like some of the security risks, and then that's where you get in. What are the security risks of being in a cloud environment? Can you kind of touch on that, and why y'all even employed?
I would say like some of the security things that you see, or some of the security things that you hear about, are a lot more simple than you would think. I remember one time, I'm not going to say any like names. I'm not going to say any company names, but I remember one time I was working with this company, and their security architect had never looked at their cloud posture management dashboard after the company invested millions into the tool. That's just one example. But the point that I'm making is like some common things are just sprawl of services. There's a lot of services depending on the cloud platform. There's tons of services in cloud in general, and a lot of those will be provisioned and then teams will forget about them. They'll have an over provisioning of resources, publicly available things that they just entirely forget about because they no longer need them for whatever their use case is. And then on top of that, with those resources, chances are they're giving access to those resources to other people that are internal to the team, or maybe even external to the business, right? Those services and those identities associated with those services go just unaccounted for. Like a lot of businesses invest money in the cloud and they just leave these services out there, accruing cost, accruing risk because someone can touch it because it's public. Things like that are things that I would consider. I mean, it may be more of a low-hanging fruit thing, but I'd say like one of the biggest pieces is the identity piece, because there's tons of different identities you need to interact with the services and allow them to talk to each other. And then just the publicly available configurations for a lot of resources. You'd be surprised. There's enterprise businesses whose names I'm not going to say, who have publicly available resources that they just have forgot about.
Nah, I agree 100%. I work in the government space. My job is to manage the compliance. A lot of the times the architecture is not being updated. A lot of times we're spending money on things that are not being accounted for. And again, being an accountant is expensive. And a lot of these big companies are not paying attention to this thing. And if you're saving the company money, if you're helping them solve a problem, even in my space, that's a big issue. It's a big issue and it's a big problem to solve. So cloud is kind of where it's at right now. So for our audience that's trying to get in, I know we kind of touched on it. Can we hit on it a little bit better? Like when it comes to certifications in general, are certifications the gold standard or projects are the gold standard? What's your opinion and how did you get in?
Yeah, I would say projects. Projects are the gold standard, like de facto. So for me, it was me getting my first role was just building out. And I remember the project roughly at this point, but it was to build out a backend database for an application to be able to push data to. So it wasn't just like, okay, I'm building a database. It was, how can I build the database on the Azure cloud platform? What type of database is it? How can I privately host it? How can I make it privately available to the software developers that I was working with? And how can I manage their permissions associated with the database, right? Like being able to say, hey, I built this and explain every piece of that architecture is what really got me my first job. And it was really just a project that I did out of passion of wanting to actually build something and use cloud to do it. But I think projects are the single most valuable thing that anybody could do, regardless of what sector of the tech space they're in. Some tools are enterprise grade tools that you'll never have access to unless you spend tens of thousands of dollars to get access to the tool. But the beauty of the cloud space is that if you go to Azure, AWS, Google right now and just sign up with an email and a credit card or an ID, they'll give you access to the exact same enterprise platform that businesses use today to solve their problems. So the barrier of entry for learning the skill set is almost not even there, right? And then as far as certifications, it's not, I don't think any one particular certification is going to make you competitive in the space. It's a conglomerate of your ability to, one, solve business problems, and then two, pick the right cloud certifications to make yourself a more competitive candidate. And there's a lot of cloud certifications, but the way that I would categorize them in 3 tiers: entry level, associate level, and professional level. The bulk of the value that you'll get from certifications in the cloud space, Azure, AWS, GCP, Oracle, will be from the associate level certifications. Like if someone said, hey, I want to get into an Azure cloud role, I would say the de facto gold standard certification at the associate level, probably the Azure Administrator Associate. That certification will literally teach you how to operate on the Azure cloud platform. Like after attaining that knowledge, getting that credential under your belt, you should be able to be thrown into like an Azure environment and understand what's what and be able to actually operate and do things against the platform. I think this is something that you would pursue after you've already built something, after you've already put hands on keyboard, after you have an understanding of, once again, compute, network, and storage, and how to leverage that for business solutions, right?
Nah, I understand. And audience, make sure you're paying attention. He's really giving you a good game, so make sure you tracking what he's saying. Also, too, Jhante, like, what are some resources where they can find how to build projects? And again, where are you putting your projects? Are you putting on LinkedIn? Are you building in public? Are you putting on GitHub? you kind of give us some resources, including yourself? I know you have a resource personally, so you can bring that up too. So
Yeah. So I do have a school community. It's just school.com/cloud tech exec. That's where I put like all of the resources, like everything I'm telling you right now. It's all publicly available free content in my school community. That along with other resources that help you skill up, as well as like get some hands-on keyboard as well too. But for the most part, with the cloud, there's tons of free things available. And I think if you said, hey, I just want to take it slow, go with a mature platform or something, you could go straight to Microsoft Learn and just go down the pathway associated with what you're learning. Like you want to get like an AZ900, a AZ104. There's a Microsoft Learn pathway with the projects that you would need to develop that Azure skill set. Once you get those fundamentals from those pre-built projects, then is when you would start to pursue building out your own custom projects of how you would think to solve a business problem. And the projects that you do should always be documented publicly. Like I meet so many people who'll be like, oh, I want to get in the cloud or network or whatever. And they're like, yeah, I've been doing projects, but nobody knows about them. Like if you're doing projects and they're not publicly available where people could see them every day in their face, it's like you don't have skills, right? Like if you go on my LinkedIn now, and I don't post labs on LinkedIn as much because I just don't have to at this point in my career, but I could if I really wanted to pursue a particular kind of role. But ultimately, you want to do your projects and document them publicly via GitHub and LinkedIn. I think those are the two best methods to publicly display your skill set, because GitHub, of course, you know it's public. Lots of people can see your work and it's owned by you. Like people can see that you did the commits, that you're the one who's actually pushing code, that you're the one building the architecture diagrams. And on LinkedIn, like if you go to my LinkedIn right now, I haven't posted in a while, but you could see my architecture diagrams. You could see my thought process. You could see my videos that I have on LinkedIn of me building or solving a particular enterprise problem with a particular set of tools. And the goal is for you to have a giant, I'm not going to say batch, but a giant repository of publicly available content. So whenever someone looks up your name, looks up your skill set, it's undeniable that you actually know what you're talking about. The worst thing you could do is say, hey, I did all of these projects. I'm doing all of this work and nobody could see it. Because if that's the case, it's like you don't exist. It's like you don't have skills. You won't matter at that point. But I think those are like the two best mechanisms for publicly displaying your skill set.
No, I agree 100%. For me, I have like almost 19,000 followers and connections on LinkedIn. And I got that through all just posting about what my job is, talking about what's going on. And just, you know, and when I lost my job, I was able to get a job quickly because I built that in public. It was like, right. Okay, Chris knows what he's doing, so I'll hire him on real quick. So I agree with you saying. Then just GitHub posting it. I'm tired of people, and I know you're tired of it. Hey, how can I get into tech? Well, build something, man.
Exactly. Exactly. This hype about certifications and Security Plus, it's just like, dude, they're pieces of paper. They don't actually validate that you could solve a business problem.
Yeah, and I agree. And I like how you're focusing on solving a business problem, because again, people ain't paying you $100. I know how much cloud engineers make. Some of them making $200, some of them $300,000. You got to solve a problem to get you out. Same thing with compliance. You got to solve a problem to get the six figures. That's what it is. So, and I also want to say to the audience, if you have any questions, just make sure you drop it in the comments. Definitely towards the end, Jhante is going to definitely talk about some of that stuff. So just make sure you drop it in so we can know you're there. Outside of that, of people not creating projects, are there any other mistakes that people are making when they're trying to get into this space?
Yeah, I would say one of the biggest problems that I see is lack of effort in the form of volume. Like I forgot who it was. I was talking to somebody recently, and they were like, yeah, I've been looking for a role. And I'm like, all right, cool. Well, how many applications have you put in the last month? In the last month, right? They were like, yeah, I put in about 40 applications, right? If you do the math, right, and you do 40 applications about 30 days, you're not even trying. Like even with a job, like even if I have a job, I'm still going to do like 20 applications a day just because, and I already have a job, right? So if you're someone without a job or outside of the space, you're competing against people who are doing much more volume than you and being much more consistent with their applications as well too. It's not always that you're getting beat out by somebody better than you or with more experience, etc., but you're getting beat out by the people that are getting seen first or getting seen more than you, because they're actually taking the time to be consistent and have a high volume of either posting or putting their applications in. And that's a really, really big deal.
Nah, I agree. They have all these AI tools to help with job postings. You can post, even for myself. I'm posting, I say in the last month, I posted like 20, 30, I'm probably more than that, probably at least 100 jobs. And again, right. I'm not just focusing on one area. You know, everybody want to focus Atlanta, DMV. I'm focusing everywhere, just to make sure I can get an opportunity. So I 100% understand what you're saying on that. You just got to make sure that you're being consistent with that. Also too, like, what are some other things that our hiring managers looking for?
High communication skills. Like, you don't necessarily have to be the most technical person. Like, I think the most competitive engineers overall have a high level of communication skills and a high level of technical skills, because ultimately that's what the business wants. They want someone who can do the work and that can speak to the stakeholders and non-technical people at a very high level as well too. The same way that you're able to drill down into an architecture or workflow or a process, you should be able to zoom out and make that digestible to someone who's non-technical, because that's where a lot of the value is. Like, as much as AI can write code and help you think through solutions, et cetera, it can't have those important conversations for you, regardless of what role you're in. Maybe it can help you write an email, draft a Slack or Teams message, but the real value is being able to convey that business value, that business outcome that they're potentially hiring you for, right? So overlooking that communication piece is a really, really big pain point for a lot of people, I think.
Now, I agree with you 100%. Communication is a great skill. One thing I've learned interviewing very high-level tech people like yourself, cybersecurity people, all of them have the gift of gab. All of them can communicate very, very perfectly. And the more money they make is the more they can communicate. There's some people that just get a job just on communication. Right. You still got to put in the work, but yeah, I agree with you 100%. Just practice that skill over and over. Even I still do. I suggest to a lot of people in the audience, just go to ChatGPT and have conversations, and then go to a person like yourself and just talk to him to make sure you're on point, you know? Yeah. So can you tell me, like working as a cloud engineer, I have a lot of friends, family that wants to know, like, what do you do as a cloud engineer? Are you getting tickets? What is the day in life at the job? Can you kind of break that down a little bit?
And I think I'm going to make a long form YouTube video on this as well too. Like, there's a lot of good content out there, but there's a lot of content out there about the tech space and also the cloud space. It's not always going to be something that's a streamlined process. Everyone would love to work at a very mature name brand organization with a streamlined process for everything that you do. That's not reality. Like, there's very few businesses who really have that maturity behind their process for delivering whatever cloud solution it is. So I've worked at orgs where everything is to the book. Like, you have a project that's chopped up into a story, you have this particular sprint cycle, et cetera, et cetera. And then I've worked at orgs where it's just people DMing you on Teams and Slack for a particular ad hoc thing randomly in the middle of the day. There is a medium between these two, but there are companies that are on either end of that spectrum as well too. So there's projects that can range between you building out an environment from scratch, you auditing an environment, you performing remediations, or you doing a particular sliver of the security piece of that entire architecture. Like, for example, like, there was an engagement where all they wanted me to do was harden images of a particular operating system against a particular framework, and that's all I did. That's a very small sliver of the overall architecture. I didn't even know what the images were used for, right? But the point that I'm making is there's a lot that you could do in this space, but you generally won't know until you get in to the role that you're interviewing for, or you start building the skills to attract the role that you're looking for, right? But it can be far and few between. It could be very far and few between. But the more mature an organization is, the more streamlined what you're going to be working on is, and the less things that you'll touch. But that'll give you more of an opportunity to be a SME on that one thing that you're touching with that organization.
Now, I understand what you're talking about. For example, audience, if you're working at Amazon, everything's going to be streamlined. They're going to send you a ticket. Everything's going to look crisp. If you're working for a random company, I'm just trying to make up something. I guess Chris, I'm going to just say Chris Company. Chris' company don't have nothing, barely had the pipes on the wall, so we trying to figure it out as we go. So you're gonna be working on everything. So
Right.
that's kind of how it goes. So like this is what I always wondered as I work with cloud engineers, network engineers. I know you build an environment. Sometimes I work with y'all to make sure that the system is compliant. Are y'all doing that on y'all end, or y'all working with somebody else to make sure the system is compliant?
It's a mixture of both. I would say the majority of orgs that I've worked with, it's a shared responsibility model to a degree, but overall, you'll have a team that's like, hey, we're the security team, or we are the compliance team that works under security, and we have these goals for the platform. Here are the goals that we want to hit with the platform, and we need someone on the cloud side to actually implement those or put up the guardrails to make that happen. So depending on how the org is set up, it's a back and forth of the requirement and the actual delivery, the hands-on keyboard for the solution from the cloud engineers. But there's been orgs that I've worked with where sometimes cloud manages all of it, right? There's orgs where they go, hey, we want to build something in cloud. We'll have the cloud team build it and own the entire platform from end to end. It really just depends on the org. But for the most part, I would say a lot of it is back and forth between a true security team and a true cloud team.
Now, I understand. So it's just different. I know in the government space, we got to make sure everything is buttoned up. I know in the private sector, it can be a little bit different. So I understand. It's just different perspectives. What are some of the issues that you deal with as a cloud engineer? I know you've been working in the field for a while. What are some of the things that get on your nerves that somebody needs to expect when they get into the field?
People. I'm not even gonna sugarcoat that. People, there sometimes it's not even that you're not technical enough to come to a solution. It's that the people that you're working with aren't giving you enough information to provide them an appropriate solution. So a lot of time or toil is spent gathering information for requirements that aren't fully fleshed out, because that's just the way the org or the team you're working with operates. But I'd say the people and the process are usually the biggest things. Like, I don't think it's crazy for someone to develop technical skills or logic their way through a particular solution. But when you don't have all the information, all the pieces, all the constraints there for you, sometimes you got to come up with all that stuff and then present a solution to someone. But I'll say for the most part, people comes in the way of the delivering something that's valuable.
Yeah, most definitely. Hey, Aaron, Cam, we're going to get to you towards the end with your questions. But I understand what you're coming from with the people. Working at my job, I'm trying to make sure that the compliance is good. But we really can't explain that to certain people. The people don't understand. Sometimes we don't have time to explain. And just sometimes management can want to prove something, or, it's a lot of issues that do come into space. But again, communication helps, like you talked about, and just understanding the people's thought process. What is your thoughts on the new technologies? Are there any new technologies we need to pay attention to in the cloud process? What is the current? What are they currently adapting to right now with systems?
I would say, I think everybody has heard of the AI thing. I mean, every business ever is trying to implement some type of AI solution haphazardly, might I add. But I would say one tool you might want to put on your radar is the Google Vertex AI. I've been seeing a lot more of that. Like, Google inherently is less popular than the other cloud platforms, but if somebody was like, hey, what will be a cool niche to do, like a really high paying, very in demand niche, Google Cloud, Vertex AI, and the security component of the platform, because Google has a tool called Security Command Center, and it's a Google platform tool that's agnostic to other cloud platforms. Meaning, once you learn that tool, technically you could set it up on other cloud platforms as well. So your route into being cloud agnostic can be from a Google perspective. And then there's also a desire for that to be adopted in the federal space too, for the compliance implementations with the platform, because it's not like Azure, AWS, where there's tons of buttons and levers and knobs to push for you to get into compliance, because it's less services on the platform. But I would say Security Command Center, Google Vertex AI, and just Google Cloud in general. Like, that is like a very, very, very underrated niche in my opinion.
Okay, make sure y'all check it out. I'm going to check it out for myself. So, hey, audience, he dropping gems. I mean, like I said, man, this is expensive information. You understand, me coming into this space, coming in, it was hard, So just make sure you're paying attention. I always emphasize that, and make sure you rewatch too. So working in the space, what are some things that hiring managers are looking for? How should somebody prepare for an interview? Like, how do you prepare for a cloud interview? Is it technical? Is it non-technical? Is it just interview questions? Or are you actually working?
I mean, I think I have like a opposing methodology for a lot of other people in terms of interview stuff. I don't necessarily think people should prep super hard for interviews. I think there's a ceiling for how much prep you can do for an interview. The description should be your foundation or your map for what's to be expected for the role. And your interactions with the recruiter leading up to the interview should paint a better picture for the pieces that you may be asked in the interview. So if I'm applying for like a cloud role and I see that they have site-to-site VPNs, they have application gateways, they have log analytics workspace, they have Terraform, and they have a footprint with GCP, and they need me to know security command center and Cloud Run, etc. I'm going to zoom in on those particular tools that are called out in the description of the role, along with interfacing with the recruiter to identify what the manager is looking for or what they want displayed in the interview. Sometimes if you're working with a really, really, really good recruiter, which is not a lot of recruiters suck at their job, you're going to get a lot more insight before you even get to the interview, even interview prep, right? But I don't think you should spend a whole bunch of time prepping for an interview, because it's still, if you're dealing with good interviewers with a mature interview process, it's going to be conversational. They're not going to grill you on the exact specifications of every single service from a dictionary perspective. They're going to want to understand what you've done with the platform, what you've done with the services, and be able to dig deeper into the things that you've built leading up to the point. But I just don't think prep is that big a deal. Like, if it's something you really, really don't know, go build it. Like, take, a couple hours out of your week and literally go grab the tool, because it's cloud. You could grab it for free. Go grab it, build it. So when you get to the interview and they ask you about it, you can say, oh, I built this. Here's why I built it. And here's what I would change to make it better if I had to build it again. Right. That's my approach generally to interviewing.
And I like how you explain that. Like, even for me, when I wanted to understand certain compliance tools, even if I couldn't build it or look at it, I would go watch videos. I would actually teach it to myself, create a whole thing to like a presentation to break it down, or if somebody was teaching it. I agree with you. Most interviews should be conversational. It should be so conversational that it's easy to you. So I agree with you 100% on that. It shouldn't be that hard to do an interview. And I know you, at this point, you've done so many, so it's like, well, it's just another interview.
It's just another walk in the park, I suppose.
Okay. So when it comes to AI, like in the cloud environment, is AI going to eventually take over your space? Or do you think that's going to happen? Or what would you suggest people to start learning to stay? Because I know you heard of Mythos. You heard of that and some other things. So what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, like, because I'll get this question on live sometimes as well too. Like, I'm not the engineer or the creator who's balls deep in AI like every other day. Like, I think every week for like the last several months, we've got some update about AI doing something. And I think it's honestly overwhelming and like almost fear-mongering in a way. The roles that are truly safe are going to be the ones where you're interacting with stakeholders to convey the business outcome of the thing that you're delivering. Ultimately, AI is a force multiplier for whatever you're doing. If you're studying, it should be a force multiplier for that. If you're writing code, it should be a force multiplier for that. If you're whiteboarding, it should be a force multiplier for that as well too. But no, I don't think there'll ever be a point where cloud just replaces cloud engineers. There's too much stakeholder interaction for that to really happen. You could use it to write code. You could use it to solution. You could use it to do architecture diagrams, etc. But there's too much of a risk to remove someone with that high level of communication and high level technical skill and replace them with an AI. Like, a business just isn't going to do that, especially with this skill set.
No, I agree with you. I get that question a lot, even with the compliance space. Can AI take over my space? I don't think so. It's more of used as a tool. I think it make my job easier. Right. When it comes to project management, using it to help me with my writing, making charts, but I don't think it's too much stakeholder facing. It's already crazy than what it is. Cloud engineering is crazy what it is. So I don't think it's going to take our space. A lot of people, and I hate the fear mongering. I agree with you on that. So what I'm going to get into, the last thing I'm going to get into is what do you think the future of cloud engineering is? How do you stay ahead? Is it quantum? Is it? I'm just throwing some things out. Like, how do you stay ahead to get on to the next thing so somebody can make some money?
I would say really just niching down earlier in your career. Like if you could do that earlier in your career, the doors are going to be open. The specific roles are going to find you because of what you can do. But overall, generally, regardless of like what tech role you're in, you should be using AI in some way to help you, once again, use that force multiplier for delivery of something. The same tools that I listed before, the similar tools with like just like Google has Vertex AI, AWS has Bedrock, Azure has its AI tool. You still want to learn those AI tools in the space because tons of businesses right now are in that teenage phase of deploying AI into their environments. The window's open right now. It's not going to be open forever, but I would say niche down first on your specific skill set and then stack AI on top of it.
And I forgot to get to you. Like, what are the types of cloud engineer roles? What are they going to say if I'm looking up on Indeed? Is it DevOps? Like, what is it? What am I looking for?
Yeah, so there is, depending on how mature the org is, there is like a considerable overlap with something that's more of a DevOps skill set and a cloud engineering skill set. If you're in like a very mature organization, the vast majority of everything you'll be doing will be automated. And for it to be automated, there's infrastructure as code as well as code in general with the processes. So there's going to be overlap between the roles that are titled DevOps engineer and the roles that are titled cloud engineer. But that in between of being a competitive cloud engineer and working with automation is how much of your job can you automate and streamline entirely from end to end? That's the goal that you want to strive for, to be competitive at a baseline. And then from there, the additional tools, the third-party security tools like Wiz or maybe even like a Splunk or something like that is going to give you that extra edge for, let's say, branching out into something else or being even more specific with your skill set, right?
I agree. Yeah, you dropping game. So you basically saying like depends on what's going on. So I understand. Now you dropping a lot of game, Jhante. I did want to reach out to the audience while we still got some time. I'm not going to hold them too long. Just try to get to an hour. But to the audience that's watching, if you have any questions, make sure you drop a question in the comments. We got a couple questions now. We're about to touch into them. So with Jhante, he said, what projects would you create to learn to show your skill set for cloud engineering? Also for Chris GRC. Also these projects I'm asking about, what are the common business needs you see?
I have like a YouTube video on 5 projects I think every cloud engineer should do. One of them is a cost visibility dashboard. You'd be surprised how many businesses have a giant cloud footprint and they don't have a streamlined process or a single pane of glass to be able to see their spend, right? Being able to build something like that is a project I think everybody should have under their belt. Along with that, right, the strong or competitive cloud candidate is going to be someone who knows how to automate the end-to-end deployment of resources on the platform. Being able to build out your repository architecture, your pipeline architecture, have a manual approval process in there, and be able to push code or push resources in a few commands is going to be something I think everyone should be able to build. So learning a pipelining solution, learning an infrastructure as code solution, building out a project to display those core skills, and even implementing security in that whole process is also going to be a very, very strong project I think someone should do.
I agree. That's some bars. For my space, GRC, creating documentation, talking about GRC, that GRC process, talking about the news that's online, building out testing controls, create simulations on talking to stakeholders. If you want to check out RMF Academy, definitely you can use the enterprise tool we have on there. EMAS emulator to practice and go through projects. Get a vulnerability scan, see if you can make some scans, get a VMware to kind of go through the process. But in the GRC space, there's many things you can do. But like Jonte say, try to talk about these projects and build them in public so you can make sure that the right people are seeing it so you can get a job and get employed.
Facts.
Yeah. So we have Ken. He says, I have seen system admins go from ops side to engineering side of the org. Have you seen? Okay, he's asking, have system admins became engineers, basically like cloud engineers. Have you seen that?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think from an administration perspective and engineering perspective, like the administrators are people that I perceive to operate in a pre-existing environment. That means you still have to understand what type of environment you're working with, the tool set, how they interact with each other, et cetera, et cetera. The next layer beyond that is being able to build the entire environment, right? I don't think it's crazy for someone to go from an administration type of role where they're operating in an environment to building the environment. I think it just comes with time. And of course, you're going to have to get comfortable where you are for you to really go out and start building things from scratch.
Okay. And it's possible. Yeah, I mean, you're at a higher level if you're a system admin going to that side. I know Jonte has seen it all. Yeah, I know you've seen them people that didn't have no experience and get to that
Exactly.
business.
It's possible. It's possible.
Um, Aaron also said, what projects would be good for a system admin to address needs? I think you kind of addressed it. Did you want to touch it one more time?
Yeah. So the projects that you do are going to be subjective to you. They're going to be subjective to the type of role you're targeting. I mean, you might be a system administration that's operating in an environment with tons of sprawl in terms of the identity and access management. You might want to build out some solution for that for your environment and then see how you can make it a cloud native, fully automated solution, right? The things that you build are going to be predicated on the type of role you personally are searching for. There isn't a one size shoe fits all for every single cloud engineering role because there's different kinds of cloud engineers. There's the ones that focus on monitoring, ones that focus on security, ones that focus on development security operations. There's a variety of different skill sets within the space, and the projects that you're going to do are going to have to align with what you want to do long term.
Okay, that's a really good answer. I'm going to leave it. I'm going to ask one more question to Jonte. And if anybody has any other questions or concerns, make sure you put in the chat because we're getting down to the hour. And again, it's a lot of good information. You might not get another opportunity to talk to Jonte one-on-one to get your answers out. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of tape and sometimes, but Jonte is pretty open. I know you have the lives and everything talking to people. So, but make sure you ask your question. You never know when you might not get an opportunity. But Jonte, this is for the person that's trying to go from zero to hero. What is like a steps that you would tell somebody that's that has zero experience that wants to become a cloud engineer? How would you break that down to them?
So I have I have a 3-hour video on this whole process, but I'm gonna condense it. Yeah, yes, but I'm gonna condense it, right? So first thing is you got to decide how you want to get into the space. There's usually 3 buckets. You have school, you have self-study, and you have certifications. Personally, I think the best route is a combination of self-study and certifications. Once you decide or you invest in those 2 buckets, you do the hands-on study, you build the projects, or you get your feet wet with your own individual study, YouTube like Professor Messer or Azure for Everyone, etc. You're going to go ahead and decide what cloud platform you want to work with. It doesn't matter which one you choose, but you're just going to pick one because at the start of your journey, the platform doesn't matter. What matters is your depth on the platform that you choose. Once you've chosen a platform, from there, you want to start building projects that can emulate an enterprise business solution. Once you've developed enough projects from scratch that you came up with the solution for, you're going to start showcasing those projects publicly. And you're also going to start hunting for roles. And you're also going to be attracting roles if you're publicizing them the right way. From there, it's going to be a mixture of you still consistently developing your project portfolio over time and making even more targeted projects for the type of roles that you're looking for and using those as a, let's say, anchor for your interviews so you can have something to refer to when you get to the interview stage. Once you're there, of course, it's performing, making sure you're doing your follow-ups, making sure you're vetting the companies and really signing an offer. But none of that process requires a certification. It requires you to understand that fundamentally you're trying to solve a business problem with the tool set or the tool bag of a cloud platform and all the services in it. So that's high level what I would tell someone to do.
To the audience, make sure you're paying attention to that. We have lastly 2 last questions and we're going to end it after that. And then we're going to close out after these last 2. We have Ken. Again, we kind of touched on this. What does an engineering interview look like? We touched on this a little bit earlier, so we can go to the next one. Ooze Money. You said, I have a free Microsoft cert. I'm debating on what exam to take. Microsoft Certified Cloud and AI engineer associate. Is it a good cert to take? Have you heard of this cert, Jonte?
So that's Microsoft certified. I haven't heard of that particular certification personally. Like, I think if your goal is like cloud security, or if your goal is AI security, I would go with first the AZ 104, and then I would consider the AI 102, or I think it is the AI 102, but it's the associate level administrator exam on the Azure platform, or the associate level AI certification on the Azure platform. There's a third cert that's the AZ 500. That's specifically the Azure security certification. But for the most part, if you don't have any other cloud Azure certs, I would go with AZ 104 first.
Man, I hope you heard that Ooze Money. Definitely check that out. And then Jonte, for the audience, where can they find you? Tell me about your school community, and make sure you drop in where the audience can find you on different platforms.
Yeah. So you can find me TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, all at Cloud Tech Exec. I'm dropping 4 videos a week on YouTube, just giving you guys sauce. Same sauce I'm sharing here, same sauce on YouTube. And I also do have a free 3-hour cloud engineering roadmap from zero to how to get a job. Definitely check that out. And I also have a free school community with a conglomerate of like all the sauce, the videos, the labs, the concepts, the projects, all of that at school.com/Cloud Tech Exec. So basically everything I own is Cloud Tech Exec. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, school, and regularly it's just dropping sauce day over day and stuff like this.
Yeah, make sure you check him out, follow him. This man is posting like a machine. I don't know how he does it. I'm watching it like every time I see him pop up, and I'm like, man, this man's killing it. So make sure you go in. He does a lot of reactions. He's in the game and he's locked in. So make sure you follow him. He knows his stuff. And you can learn a lot. I don't endorse too many people, but I definitely endorse Jonte. Jonte is killing it, man. So just check him out on those platforms. Jonte, I always ask the audience, what is one thing that you want to lead the audience with? It can be advice, a comment. It can be even a quote. What would you lead the audience with to keep growing and making sure they still pursuing tech and getting better?
Always remember that you may come across people in your career that have a vested interest in your development and who you are and who you want to be in your future. They may care about you personally, but the business does not care about you, and it never will. The business cares about maintaining a bottom line and being profitable. Don't be so caught up in your first job being your last job. Be caught up in developing true skills that can solve a business problem. And always remember that you have to act in your own best interest. So do what you need to do to develop the skills, understand how to solve the problems, and then good things will happen. But don't ever think that just because you can solve business problems that the business won't terminate you. Like every job that you ever have and every job that you ever will have an end date with it. You just don't know when it is. So the sooner you understand that, the sooner you're going to stay sharp. Yeah.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you saying 100%. That's the hardest advice I ever took. I thought you can be at the company, do what you have to do at the company, and eventually your day will come and it's time to let you go. I was talking to an executive in the past. He said he gave it all, and at the end of the day, he missed his kids, birthdays, things like that. And he said, at the end of the day, just let me go, like nothing happened. So keep that to you. Hey, keep business, do your job, and keep going, man. Jonte, that was a good quote. Yeah. So remember, everybody, if you're watching the podcast, like the video, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, and if you want to learn anything about compliance in the government space, check out RMF Academy. Check out the newsletter. We do a cohort every month. So remember, everybody, get 1% better every day. Peace out. I'll see you on the next one. Peace, everybody.
Yeah, have a nice one.